Okay, okay.
Hey everyone, my guest today is Michael Townsend, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about why Michael is on the show today. In 2003, eight artists in Rhode Island created a secret apartment in a hidden space inside the Providence Place Mall and lived in it for 4 years, filming everything along the way. They snuck in furniture, they tapped into the mall's electricity, and somehow they secretly constructed a brick wall with a locking door smuggling in over 2 tons of cinder block. One of these extraordinary artists is with me today on the podcast, Michael Townsend, whose specialty is tape art, where he uses masking tape to create silhouettes of people and objects on walls. And he once spearheaded an extraordinarily beautiful year-long volunteer project in my hometown, New York City, and put tape art homages. How do you say homages?
Is it homage, I
Homage.
believe. Homage,
Uh,
yeah.
Homage to people who died on 9/11 on public walls, like graffiti but made with tape. And he regularly volunteers to brighten the hallways of a children's hospital, collaborating with its patients. I could go on and on about the extraordinary and beautiful works of art that Michael puts into the world. But today we're going to focus on this film that I got to see on Netflix. Documentaries are my just favorite thing in the world. Jesse Eisenberg produced it and Jeremy Workman directed it. And I'm really going to hand over the mic, as it were, to Michael because this is something that happened in 2003 through 7.
327 is the pinnacle of our efforts there. With 2007 being the year that I was put in handcuffs and the project was ended. So
Exactly. So this is not yesterday, yet
no.
all of a sudden people are giving this moment in your life tremendous attention almost 10 years later, more than
Yeah.
that. And so I wonder what it is to be the person you are now,
Mhm.
looking back at this extraordinary event from your past. And I also just want to say one more thing. Aside from it being just a feat of imagination, the thing that slayed me is the community of artists who did this together, the family that were so invested in each other, the teamwork, the beauty, the collaboration. It is one of the most beautiful families I've ever witnessed documented in this way. So I just want to add that to one of the reasons why I was so moved by it. And now I guess if you want to just go on a stream of consciousness TED Talk journey about
Sure.
effort, I would love to be audience to that, as would my listeners.
Sounds good. Well, there's a lot to talk about. I think something that is worth sharing because it's something I can't get my head around, and it sort of ramps us up into the questions you asked, is the Hollywood Reporter put their numbers together for how the movie performed in February. So as you mentioned, it's on Netflix. It was released in late January. So we have February as data. And in February, according to the numbers they gave, that movie on all platforms versus all movies came in at number six. Outrageous.
In the
The
world.
number they put on it was 288 million minutes of watching, which I think, if we're correct, calculates out to about 548 years of people watching this movie in just February. Which begs the question, why? Why is there such an investment in this tiny, unknown group of artists who are not famous by any means, who have lived off the radar this entire time, who have been packaged into a movie by Jeremy Workman, where he's done a really exquisite job of capturing a couple years of intense art making, where the the tip of the spear is the secret mall apartment, but following up the secret mall apartment is a whole bunch of related artworks that are, as you mentioned, done in tape, done in different types of communities, all under the umbrella of the healing arts. And to see all of those works together, I think has been a really fascinating journey for audiences because they as it's been repeated to me over and over and over again, come in because of the Secret Mall apartment and very quickly realize that they're in an entirely different ecosystem of art making and art analysis and what art can mean. One of my favorite sequences in that movie is near the end. Jeremy got a whole bunch of people on interview to answer the question, is it art? Especially looking at the Secret Mall apartment, because if I were to just describe that one project to you, you would fairly say, no, that is not art. Not by any, it may be a performance piece of some sort, but by most people's metrics, no, they'd give it a pass. And in the movie, he has this collage of voices that starts with a curator from the Met. So she is from the fine art world, and she sort of tips her hat to the fact that maybe perhaps this is art. And it gets passed off to some other artists who are like, yeah, sure, this is art. But as the voices get closer to me, they get ultimately to my girlfriend and my brother, those two voices are like, nah. I've tried my best to understand this, and I don't think I don't think it's art. And the thing I've always been moved by in that sequence is that somebody watching the movie will hear their own voice. That it validates such a wide range of ideas about art. It's a really great buffet of art concepts, all in that 90 minutes. The the thing you mentioned about the idea of the tightness of that group that we have. So we have 8 artists, of which I'm the tallest one, uh, who worked together very, very closely for about 5 years. And we had sort of started the heart of our collaboration working on a September 11th memorial, where we had made the decision to go into Manhattan the week after the Trade Center fell and start drawing every single airline passenger and every single fireman one at a time on the buildings of Manhattan, simple silhouettes, life size. We chose those two groups of people because at the time, those are the only two groups we could clearly identify. You could quantify the loss with those two groups. Uh, Anyone who was around Manhattan at that time, the chaos, especially the first couple of months after September 11th, where the original number was like 5 or 7 thousand people. Like no one had any idea the depth of the tragedy. And so our efforts, starting with that around 500 people, was a project that went on for 5 years. So for 5 years, we took pilgrimages from Providence to Manhattan, and in broad daylight, took it upon ourselves to draw in this sort of soft graffiti style on the walls of Manhattan. And uh, we did that for 2 years before we started the Secret Mall apartment. And the reason it's worth pointing out is that's 2 years of illegal art making, righteous art making, documenting our art crimes constantly, putting ourselves in positions where we are willing to take the risk and the ramifications for people not interpreting what we're doing in real time very quickly.
Right.
Uh, I will say that the police in those first 2 or 3 years were in Manhattan were really kind to us because they
Mhm.
could see us drawing the silhouettes of firemen, and on a regular basis, they would roll by really slowly, see us doing something that they could easily step out of their cars and be like, "Hey, quit it," or
Right.
ramp it up even further. And they didn't. They would make eye contact with us and give us a little nod and just keep going.
Mhm.
The last 2 years of the project, we start to see that dissolve a little bit. It was really interesting that we had a window where we were given a grace period to do these portraits. And
Right.
yeah, it's just wild. Like it's always sort of a nice um reminder that enforcing the laws is a decision. So and our type of graffiti, it just breaks the simple rule of defacing walls. You deface a wall, graffiti.
Right.
You pack snow onto a wall, technically graffiti. So
Yeah.
it was just really nice to be given the opportunity to do the work that we felt so strongly about. And so by the time we start doing the Secret Mall apartment, we're in a rhythm. We've spent 2 years basically doing emotional art push-ups to praise ourselves for that project.
Yeah.
And so the movie shows footage of us actually making the apartment because we were documenting the process of it, much like we were doing the process documentation in New York City. But in the case of the apartment, we never ever intended to share it. It was going to be in-house footage only. There was no
For footage for the sake of footage.
footage for the sake of footage. Like as a professional artist, I have been doing tape art for 35 plus years. My practice is rooted in doing large, like 1 story, 2 story, 7 story high tape murals that sometimes are 100 feet across. These drawings are like ridiculous art performance pieces where we draw for 10 to 14 hours a day, day after day after day in a relentless style. And then the day after we finish making a mural, the day after we're like, this mural is done, we tear it down. So the finished products usually last 24 hours before they're removed.
Can I ask you a question about
Yeah,
that?
of course. Yeah.
When, and obviously people can Google and go online and see what we're talking about as
Yeah.
opposed,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. It's very specifically if you went to tapeart.com and found a link that says murals, you'll have this one beautiful page that shows murals from fairly recently all the way back to 1989. And when you look at them, just know that that collection of 25, 30 murals is a short pile of the 500 murals we've made,
right.
of which they all lasted this day or so after their completion.
Tell me about the decision early on in your like trajectory as an
Yeah.
artist
Yeah.
for them to come down so
Hmm.
quickly. What is that impulse?
Yeah, the impulse at first was technical, which means that we were drawing in
It's not tape back.
the same space every day. So
Okay.
every 24 hours, we'd return to the same space, clean the canvas, air quotes, and just draw again. And we did this when we first started tape art. Tape art was invented, I'm going to say that aloud, in Providence in 1989. And the first drawing led to another one 24 hours later, and then 24 hours later. And this went on for months. And it wasn't until like 60 drawings in that we're like, oh, are we supposed to be documenting these? Like there was no impulse at all to take pictures. It was just a persistent act of play. There's a running joke that the only photographs we have of the earliest days of tape art are all mom photos. So people's mothers would come visit them at school and be like, "What is this?"
So
Uh,
you're in Providence because
yes.
you're from Providence, or did you go to RISD? Like, how do you get to Providence?
Yeah, so I grew up in a military family. So my father was in the Marines, which means that we were stationed in different places, multiple places before I attended college. So moved maybe 10 or 12 times before college. So I was born in California, lived in many places in California, many places in Texas, lived in the Midwest. Uh, and my parents ultimately settled in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And so spiritually, I ended up being from New England. But I think a lot of folks who grew up in the military just have the sense that like wherever they choose to settle down, wherever they choose, like that's where they're from. And so
Right.
I did come to RISD in 1989 as a student for the Rhode Island School of Design and came to a city that was in the right type of transition for the type of work that I was interested in making. Like the city really evolved me as an artist. Like tape
Yeah.
art took off because the city was in flux. They were sort of on a they were had been on a downward spiral for a while. So downtown was a ghost town. There was sort of this sense that you could draw on anything and no one's going to bother you. There were lots of abandoned buildings, and as an urban explorer, gold mine. My gosh, we had historic mill buildings. We had abandoned Masonic temples. We had all these spaces we could go in and sort of evolve our senses of stewardship. Like this idea that empty buildings and negative spaces that people have discarded or forgotten are ripe for improvement or for the injection of meaning. And that became sort of the place I felt really excited about, going into places and sort of creating creating something out of nothing, where the original something that was there was like incredibly awesome, like the Industrial Revolution, or a church or something that was as architecture was wrought with meaning, and now it's just a shell. And those spaces are so much fun to sort of go in and build things and installations. A lot of my work from the very beginning designed to never be seen. So I had this sort of uh, Jekyll and Hyde of doing very, very, very public work, and then doing other works that are just designed to be seen by people who happen to be in those spaces, and that's it.
So I'm always fascinated. I've had many artists on this show. You
Mm.
know, you and Julianne Moore are both army brats, right? Like you both
Yeah.
come from the same. And I think about certainly my understanding of military parents,
Mm.
and they are rule followers and very much believe in rules. And
Yeah.
so in some ways it is completely like it was meant to be, and ironic that much of your work is
Mm.
being very rebellious in certain ways,
Mm.
against what people deem to be the rules of society or following the rules, right? And I wonder, um, I mean, I'm obviously the 1 millionth person to talk about that with you, but not being scared. Like, I am very scared of getting in trouble, right?
Uh,
Like, I'm so scared of those sorts of interactions. So, what
yeah.
do you do, like, from doing art in places that don't belong to you,
Mm.
which some people would call trespassing, or whatever you want to use, like big brother words about how we should or shouldn't behave. I want
Yeah.
to like even so obviously you're running around, you're doing like the most to describe it as like tape art doesn't quite convey to listeners without seeing it like the extraordinary beauty. It would be like he's the Mona, it's like the Mona Lisa of tape. But
No.
but I want to understand sneaking into a building that is
Mm.
not yours, that you
Yep.
don't have a key to, and
Yep.
not only discovering, and again, like as people watch this movie, they will very much understand that this was originally sort of a response to a gentrification project
Yeah.
years after you have been like really civically active in trying to preserve artist communities in the warehouse district of Providence. And this
Yeah.
this story is in every city, right? Urban communities that are neglected, artists come in, they make them special, and then someone goes, oh, wait, that's special now. And then they take them away from the artist. So this is sort of the backdrop to the moment that this mall is being built, you are being dehoused, and somehow you figure out watching this monstrosity be built, like you're deep into the architecture of the thing, and you seem to
Mhm.
understand this building from the inside out.
Yeah.
So the idea of like, well, we're going to use this is all about, we're going to use empty space for people. That's what the whole, process is meant to be about. We're going to be those people. Like, just talk about the not being scared to get in trouble.
Sure. So I think the tape art has a parachute, which is that it's temporary. So that means that we have, with this medium, an incredible amount of freedom to play in those spaces where, yes, you would get in trouble if it was paint, and
Yeah,
sort of test those boundaries all of the time.
right.
There is another sort of you're equating the idea of military families and rule following. The other big, big, big thing about military families is that they're rooted in a service mentality. Like
Mhm.
that's the whole thing. Like they're
Right.
they're like, oh, you want us to go fight this war? Sure, we'll go fight this war. You want me to die?
Right.
Sure, I'll die. You want me to like do this, things I like, things I don't like. Like you're just in service to the nation and to your local communities. And I grew up in that. Both my grandparents are military, their parents, they just it's the only sort of um thing I understood as I evolved as a kid is that service is so deeply important,
Yeah.
and therefore my father once graced me with an articulation when I was in my mid-20s, and I'd started doing tape art in hospitals and prisons, community centers and psychiatric wards and teaching. And he said it aloud. He's like, I really admire that you do service work with your artwork. I was like, huh. I was like, tell me more. Like, what are you observing here? He's like, well, he said, no parent ever expects that they're going to have a child that's going to go into the arts because it's just the worst because they're never going to be financially secure. You don't know what
Right.
they're going to do. They're just, they're just the in-house weirdo you have to explain to everybody. But he said, he was really moved watching us evolve tape art as a medium because he saw it as a decision to focus our our energy on it being a social medium that we are designing. And it's worth saying aloud, like we effectively invented an art medium and we had some choices along the way. So in the early years, we could have leaned towards graffiti and street culture and made that the thing. We could have
Yeah.
leaned towards the fine arts and be like, well, let's embrace the fine art system and sort of evolve this thing in a way that it will be um, a reflection of sort of like contemporary art and contemporary language. But where we really found our thrills was when we started teaching tape art and bringing it into community settings where we got to witness the advantages of it as a medium, serving people in the spaces where they spent all their time.
Yeah.
And so that's either doing collaborative drawings with others. To put a number on that, in my own personal life, I've worked with over 60,000 first-time tape artists. So that gives you a sense of the volume of interest I have in doing that.
Yeah.
But man, when we started working in hospitals and doing work on like smaller scale on requests for people who didn't have a sense of control or autonomy over their lives, that's when we're like, well, this is where this is what defines for us tape art.
Yeah.
And so that creates a scenario where a little bit of art righteousness can squeeze can get injected into our work. So if we
Right.
go to Manhattan and we're drawing on 500 buildings without permission, we have this idea of stewardship, which is the idea of improving spaces or having control over spaces that are not your own. It's not about owning the space, it's about um, identifying that you play a role in the betterment of the built environment, not about ownership. So
Right.
stewardship. We had the idea of service and in tape art in that scenario. We're pretty worked up because this is an incredible tragedy in 2001. And additional note, I was in Oklahoma City in 1995 when the Alpha Pi Mural building was bombed, and some of those rescue workers who came from New York City to Oklahoma to work in the recovery effort at the Alpha Pi Mural blast site were died at the World Trade Center. So I met them in Oklahoma City while we were
Wow.
doing a mural for them in the rescue center. And we did this mural. It took us 58 hours of straight work to do this three-story high mural. It's shown in the movie briefly, but we had become acquaintances with these heroes of New York, and then later discovered that they had passed away. And that was sort of the deeper emotional connection that made us think we got to get out there. We got to like, and then on a personal, selfish note, we're doing this artwork to process the grief. This is, at the end of the day, regardless of any service, you're still have to do it for yourself too. You have to get something from it. Um, and then ultimately, in regards to getting in trouble, all of those things give us that engine for thinking that we have the oh, it's not the right. It's just sort of the like, and it's not moral high ground. I don't know what it is. It's just sort of a need that we can justify.
Yeah.
And when we do works that are identified as under the umbrella of the healing arts, those works we leave behind.
Hmm.
When we do our big murals, 24 hours. The healing arts, we leave it for the people who we are serving to remove it when they think it's time to be removed.
Right.
So some of those drawings that we made,
Yeah.
those portraits, especially ones that were near construction sites, construction workers were all over it. They loved it. They would fill them in with paint. One of them took the time to put they put plexiglass over one of them and screwed it down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like so some of them lasted for years because they were embraced by the people there, and then others were up for 5 minutes.
Right.
Murray
So,
Hill, you know Murray Hill.
yes, of course.
Yeah, they would not leave up any of those people. They're just yelling at us from 10 stories up, being like, get out of my neighborhood. It's like I'm trying to draw somebody.
Yeah,
So,
they weren't taking the time to understand
right.
what was happening there.
Yeah.
And so the apartment is a completely this is a huge new relationship to a space. You are not doing
Yes.
tape art. You never did you do tape art in the apartment for yourself
No.
at any point?
No. No, somebody in a Q&A last year actually said it aloud. They're like, wait, if there's 8 artists, why was your apartment so boring looking? I was like, it's not boring looking. It just looks like an apartment. They're like, why didn't you decorate it? Like you're all artists. It's like, because the project was designed to be a reflection of what the mall had to offer, and they don't offer art.
Right.
We were navigating it in that direction, and
Yeah.
what's on film is sort of our first draft of just trying to sort of
Right.
suss out what a
Had
domestic
it
space looks like.
had it lasted longer than 4 years,
Right.
maybe in your thrift store finds, there would have been like some sort of,
Painting
oil painting.
wallpaper, painting the walls, like those steps were coming. Like those conversations were being had all the time. So it was sort of stuck in this kind of neutral space because we were looking to evolve it further, but just taking your time. There was no timeline on it. So
It's so, I mean, if you didn't see it, it would be hard to believe, right? But
mm,
somehow you were hiding in plain sight, as they say.
yeah.
And there's also, I mean, just for folks when you watch it, the unbelievable physical strength, like the things that you are bringing up a ladder to get into this, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Like to
No.
get cinder block, to get a couch, let alone cinder blocks
Yeah.
up the ladder. Um, there's just this unbelievable willingness and desire to make this thing happen because there was a lot of hard work involved in making it happen.
Indeed, I think it's also just as a shout out to the artist community. I will say that a majority of the artists that I know are incredibly strong. Like, so you see these characters who might be a little like light of flight when you look at them, or you wouldn't assume that there's like an inner physical strength. But a lot of artists, like that's their body is the tool. The amount of effort it takes to make things and move things, like you're a living pickup truck. So
What's amazing in every wonderful documentary is there's the thing you think you're making a documentary about. There's like the A story and the B story, and they kind of
Mm.
switch places a lot. What's also going on in the making of this home in a mall, this kind of communal kibbutz in the Providence
Mhm.
Mall of 8 artists, you are married at the beginning of
Yep.
this film, and it's very much you and your wife together kind of exploring this idea. And then you
Mhm.
watch like a couple have different interests as
Yeah.
time goes by. And so
Yeah.
we're also witnessing the building of something and the unbuilding of another thing.
Yeah.
And now in the film, we also meet your new relationship. Everyone's interviewed, the artists are all interviewed at different parts in the later, in the now of the film. Can you talk about what it is that's a very personal thing being revealed in
Mm.
this film.
Mm.
It's not tape art of somebody else, it's you, Michael.
Right.
And
Right. And yeah, the film has this sort of very voyeuristic footage of myself and Adriana saying aloud the tenseness in our life that we had been trying to navigate this project, and I had become very sort of consumed by it because I wanted it to be to continue to grow. It was the manifestation of all of the efforts that I had made for so many years trying to save historic mill buildings
right,
and listening to dozens and dozens of behind the door meetings with developers who were going to knock down where I live, justify it over and over and over again. And uh, it, it, I, I'm reflecting right now. I can hear the voices of these two women in Cleveland who, when the movie was doing its tour of the film festival circuit in 2024, these two women came up to me after the movie and they said that that conversation, that soft argument you have with Adriana is one of the best we've ever seen on film. I was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? She's like, you guys modeled how to argue. Like
Hmm.
you are both obviously peeved and stressed out, and you both express so clearly where you stand, what your needs are. You acknowledge each other. And they said it's just one of the healthiest breakups they'd ever seen. I was like, well,
They're
that's
like, well, there's other footage that.
yeah. Well, Jeremy did a very good job. I actually saw the movie last night. Did a Q&A locally, and I was watching that footage again, and it struck me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You filmed all that.
Yeah.
Like when
You, Michael.
I'm filming that
Yeah.
entire thing.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting period of time for documenting because this all happens pre-iPhone.
Right.
And so the iPhone gives us this beautiful, convenient rectangle that we can hold in our hand, point at anything, and sort of absorb the world. And because it's cloud-based and internet-based, we can share it in real time too.
Right.
That ecosystem of like absorbing the world into your rectangles didn't exist easily pre-iPhone. So I'm using this little tiny camera called an Optio S5i. It fits in the palm of my hand. And I'm doing something that at the time was very novel, which was holding my arm out at arm's length, turning the camera to myself and documenting the process. And so when we had this conversation in the food court, we've been documenting ourselves off and on for years. And so
Yeah.
nobody ever performs for the camera. The editors of the film made this really fascinating note. They said they went to all of the footage we shot, and not once does anyone look at the camera. And that's a pretty big deal because that means that when you watch this footage in this film, that if you have a little tingle where you're like, wow, this is really real. This is really like authentic. Like these guys are I'm the witness to something that maybe I shouldn't be a witness to. Those are real feelings because that's you are watching footage that was
But
never meant to be performative in any way.
that's sort of extraordinary because it is human instinct when something is pointed at you,
Mm,
whatever it is, to
right,
look at it, right? And
right.
so
To talk to it. Yeah.
collectively, that all of you, because there's so much footage, is everything shot by you, or did you share the camera with
Mm.
others?
It is, I'm gonna in the high 90s shot by me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the main recorder because part of it's practice. Like I had spent so many years perfecting the angles. And so when you watch this footage, keep in mind that I am shooting it and there's no screen facing me. I have just learned where to put my hand.
Um,
The screen is in the palm of my hand.
right.
So I have learned how to shoot video and compose it exactly the way I need it composed. I can find footage from 2001 where that's not the case. But by 2002, 3, by 3, 4, 5, 6, I've gotten really good at it.
When
So,
you like, first of all, do you still live in Providence?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we drive
absolutely.
by, we all drive by places we used to live, right? Like
Yeah.
we'll have that tour that we
Yeah,
can show
I live
people.
across the street from where my house was ripped down. I
Okay,
survived 4 evictions on this block. I'm in my fifth space right now. So this brick behind me is from 1865.
that's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
so this is just another big mill building.
So you guys, before you got caught, quote unquote,
Yes.
sort of achieved almost every goal. And the next one, as the film ends,
Mm,
like, can we get mail here?
mm.
That was like as you go through the levels,
Yeah.
you've gotten electricity, you'd fully furnished. You could at this point sleep, cook a meal,
Mhm.
PlayStation, watch something.
Yep.
There were bathrooms in the mall. You didn't install your own bathroom, but there was,
Within 2 months, we would have had it.
you would have had like maybe a shower or just,
Uh-huh. Within 2 months, we had it. We would have had it. We had in the movie it mentions that we had brought up the wood floors, or that the wood floors about to go in. Like the wood
right.
floors were had been purchased and were in the mall already. And so I got arrested on a Wednesday. That Friday, the wood floors were supposed to go in.
I can't believe it.
So
We were so close to the wood.
so close. This is I have to say that the timing's actually really great. Like I think that both parties, the mall and us,
Yes,
walk away with our heads held high because they catch us before we go completely out of control, where like it's like wood floors, wallpaper, water tanks, working showers, like, and I think ultimately that would make us look like psychos too.
yeah.
Like, so I think both sides end up looking as best as they're going to look in this relationship.
Do you think that there were, I mean, we see some security, security even makes appearances in the film,
Yep.
people who work in the mall.
Yeah.
Uh, do you think there was a while before it all came
Crashing down.
came
Yep.
to where everyone was aware of each other and there was just a curiosity about where it would go, or
There's there is, and it's not articulated in the film, and that's important because we don't there's no specific we don't look at the end of it and break it down minute by minute, but
Right.
there's a couple months near the end where both parties are aware that the other party knows. So the tense levels were much higher for the last couple months, and of course after 4 years of light paranoia, knowing it was going to come to an end at any day,
Right.
last couple of months we knew, like really knew it was going to come to an end, and finally,
We're
finally
pushing a
did.
little bit.
Yep,
Why did
finally did.
it come to the end? Why do you think it came to the end on the day it came to an end?
Because they had found our space that's shown in the film.
Yeah,
And then it was a couple months before we ran into one of their daily patrols. And they
right.
always came during the day. After they found our space and we knew that they knew we were there, we only came at night. So we did the night shift, they did the day shift. We never saw each other. And the one day I broke the single rule we had, which is do not bring strangers to the space. I did that and I did it during the day.
And why do you think you did?
I did it because I had been given an artist from Hong Kong and been asked to give her a tour of the best that Providence had to offer in the arts, the Asian Arts Council in Manhattan, and send her my way. She was a stranger to me. We had spent a couple of days together. I'd razzle dazzled her with all the good, incredible sort of nonprofits that Providence has that support the arts. I'd shown her a bunch of individual artists, and I was walking her to the bus station, and we were walking past the mall, and I was like, one more artwork. I'm going to blow this person's mind.
Yeah,
And my thought process was like, they're about to fly back to Hong Kong. Like, this can't come back to me.
my secret will be safe.
My secret will be safe with her because this is also pre-social media, pre
Right.
like there's no sense to in my mind that this is going to have any ramifications. And then we just ran into their patrol.
So she's in the apartment with you, this
Yes.
this visitor from,
Yes.
who
Has
has no
knows nothing about it. She's seeing it
touch.
completely raw. She has like no skin in this game. She her mind is blown by this thing. Like she's just trying to process it all, and then we got arrested.
So what was she arrested also?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was a really, I felt so
Oh,
bad. The Asian Arts Council in Manhattan pulled every string they had and got her free and cleared to go back to Manhattan and back to China. No record, no nothing. She was totally fine. But oh my gosh, I felt so
my,
bad.
of course you did. Uh,
Yeah.
When had you ever been arrested before, formally in any way?
Uh, Arrested formally? N- Uh, Not really. I mean, I'm thinking about Providence. Like I've been put in cop cars a lot for skateboarding.
Okay.
Providence in the early 90s. I think it's the rollerbladers did it. The rollerbladers are like, we can't have skateboarders. And
They
they
ruined
they
it for
they put
everybody.
yeah, they made it's still illegal technically in Providence. But in the early 90s, they would just pick you up. You'd be
Okay.
skateboarding, they would pull up, they were like, get in. And we're like, oh, come on, man. And you like get in the car. And they would bring you down to the station and walk you in and then just walk away.
Oh, you wouldn't get a summons even.
No. They would just do
He
it to
cried.
that's the thing is like they would do it to just sort of show that they were doing it.
Uh-huh.
But then, because nobody cares, all they care about is that the skateboarder gets picked up by the cops.
Yeah,
Like they did, that's what they want to see. They're like, yes, they're doing a great job. The cops don't want to do paperwork.
right.
They don't want to get us in trouble necessarily. And they would just, uh, yeah.
So
So
what
those are examples of just like selectively reinforcing the rules
for
just
why?
for show. You
Yeah.
know, the mall does the same thing. Like the mall. Every mall is a private space. Every mall has rules. Like, go to your mall, find the rules. In the rules, it may say things like, you cannot use a camera here. You cannot record here. You cannot be in the mall unless you're here for the express purpose of shopping.
Hmm.
Those are enforceable rules. If I'm just walking around the mall and a security guard has seen me for like 2 hours and I don't have a shopping bag and I'm taking pictures and, just they can just call you out for trespass.
Right.
And if you're like, no, I'm not trespassing, they can just call the police. Like they can escalate it easily because it is
Right.
private space,
Yeah.
masquerading as public space. So these are all lessons about trying to navigate, and then I have the additional advantage of just being a white dude who doesn't have that additional
The
tension.
privilege. There's a privilege.
There's, all these things I'm describing like would be escalated in tension if I just didn't look who I was and I'm just a friendly, outgoing guy who's just trying to like make his way in the world. Buys me a lot of space.
So, first of all, did you have to pay a fine other than, being, I mean, you spent the night in jail?
Yeah, we do. You do one night in jail, then you go to a judge in the morning, and the judge got to hear from the lawyer from the mall, who had had 24 hours to put together a fantastic scorched earth accusation against me,
Yeah.
and they made a critical error, which is they decided that the best way to make me look bad was to describe in every detail the mall, the apartment. So they said, well, they had a four-piece sectional couch and he had, matching china and neatly clothes, folded clothes and an entertainment section. And the more he described it, the more it became apparent to the judge that we were way past prank territory.
Yeah.
And the judge just said aloud, he said aloud, he's like, I don't know what this is, but
Right.
it's not something criminal. So I'm going to give you misdemeanor trespassing and a $60 fine.
So that was
And
the result.
that was it. And I had to talk to a nice lady every couple of weeks for 6 months.
You had to check in.
Uh,
Did you feel, so obviously then you never got to see this apartment again after the arrest?
no, that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
When you all get together as a band again,
Yeah.
when you are released from prison, um, did you did you feel bad?
No, what we felt was a little frantic because this project was a secret project. I've been arrested for something that they were going to clearly articulate why I
Right.
was arrested, is
Yeah.
apart from the blah, blah, blah. So the moment of the arrest, and I realized this, like I spent a night in jail and I'm like, oh boy, I have a responsibility now to curate the narrative. So it
Hmm.
becomes an in effect, it becomes the art project as soon as I get arrested because I have to sort of guide how the story is going to be told. And I went to the Providence Journal, which is our local paper, at 4:30 the afternoon. Got out of jail, and I stood out there and waited for a journalist. And I got one, and I was like, "Look, here is the situation. You're going to get a police blotter. That you're just going to want to like publish it as a prankish la 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 story.
Right.
Don't do it." I said, "Spend 3 days with me.
Yeah.
You're the gatekeeper for this story right now. And I think
right.
if we spend time together and we talk about it, like let's talk about it, like let's understand and unpack this thing because it's a 4 year thing and it has such a rich it could have a lot of impact on your readers. It could
Mhm.
be something that's it's a powerful protest piece. It's so many things. I just need time to process it, and I'm asking you for a grace period. And they did it. The Providence Journal journalists spent 3 days with me, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they came to our studio and we'd sit for hours and just talk about it. And
All of
so
you?
yeah, not all of us.
Oh,
Some of the artists, myself, and these journalists.
yeah,
And so by Monday, they had a really good fine-tuned idea about how to tell it because they're the gatekeepers. Like, remember, this is like pre the internet being the reason the way we get stories.
right.
And they released an AP version of it on Monday. Tuesday, they released a more flowery version of it, and then Wednesday they did a like who are the artists type of story. And that was it. They did a really good job and it became international news.
And how did your lives change after that?
Uh, Not much. Like, it was just a couple months of intense interviews. We did some days 10 hours worth of interviews, but simultaneously we turned down every single offer from Hollywood. Book deals, movie deals, TV deals. Our group of artists were like, we're not doing it. And because the narrative as art, as story, was doing incredibly well on its own.
Hmm.
We had managed to create a sort of folklorish monster that was capturing the interest of cities all over the world, and especially in Providence. And we're like, a movie would wreck this. Why put our faces on it? Why drag our history and politics and into it? Because everyone loves this story as their story.
Yeah.
See themselves in it. All the emails we're getting are like, thank you so much for doing it. All the communication we're getting is so positive. We're like, oof, let's not mess this up. And
Do
so that's we sat on it.
you,
We sat on the footage.
do you think it ended up bringing more people to that mall? Like to kind of
Oh,
see like the museum aspect of it or the like
yeah, I think um
weird way?
not necessarily at that time, but I think we can claim that we put a lot of bodies in that mall last March when the movie was uh released at the mall.
God, it's so
It's
meta. It's so
incredible.
crazy.
The long game. Amazing. So the movie did its commercial run starting at the mall last March. In the first 4 days that the movie showed there, I did 24 Q&As in 4 days to give you a
Wow.
sense of like how many seats we're filling. And the movie ran for 32 weeks.
Which is unheard of.
Unheard of,
Yeah,
unheard of. Like,
unheard of.
those are like Titanic numbers. Like we just,
Yeah.
and we were always, they have a 16 theater multiplex. And for 32 weeks in a row, we were always in the top three every time it showed for what
Also that really extraordinary part of the film where there's like so the space is recreated on a soundstage basically
yeah,
and and seeing you guys kind of enter it and it's pretty damn close from what I can tell to what
yeah.
the space felt like except it was not enclosed and you could walk in and out freely. um it I just wonder, just a sidebar, Jesse Eisenberg, who's a well-known person, how did he hear of, get involved with this doc, and why did you decide, this is a two-parter before I let you go, to in fact let it be a movie now, very much your in a
Uh,
different form, but still Hollywood came a calling in a different sort of way.
yeah. So starting with Jeremy Workman, he's the director of this movie. I met him by accident in 2019. I was doing a mural in Athens, Greece with my art collaborators. We were drawing on a glass building. So when you draw on glass, you could just like draw and look inside. And
Yeah.
inside was a YouTube superstar named Lily. She's a domino toppler and one of the few people from YouTube I recognize by face. I'm like, yes, it's Lily. And she's being filmed constantly by this dude. Like who's obviously a film person
Yeah.
that ends up being Jeremy Workman. So we befriended him there. And I realized in talking to him that I had seen some of his films and I
Mhm.
loved them. I was like, hey, I like this is a filmmaker I really dig. And I got to watch them at work. I got to watch them with the subject. I got to watch, their process. And those are all things that sort of build trust. So Jeremy, after he finished the documentary Lily Topples the World, contacted us and said, hey, uh, I'd love to follow up on this, our conversations about the secret mall apartment. And I handed him the hard drive. He was the first person to ever see all the footage. He's a master editor. And in very short form, he came back to us. He's like, "You already shot a movie. Like you
Like
have,
you're welcome.
you
Yeah.
got all the angles, you got everything. Obviously, it just needs to be scaffolded into something that's like watchable."
Yeah.
And he he is friends with Jesse Eisenberg.
I see.
Jesse Eisenberg had shot a movie in Providence many years back and lived in a building across the street from the mall. And so when he was sent the movie, he had had the spatial experiences we talked about in the movie himself. He
Mhm.
had just enough of a Providence proxy experience to be excited about being a voice for it.
Yeah.
And he really, on a personal note, really loves people who don't care about fame at all.
Uh-huh.
And so that it's something that I think that moves him as an individual. And so I think when he watched a movie of like eight people who just don't care at all about sharing their story or being seen or being famous
Yeah.
and being a Providence guy by proxy for a little bit, he was in
It
board.
was a great fit.
He's been a fantastic advocate for the movie. I've met him a couple of times. He is as lovely as you can imagine. So smart. My God. Uh, so that's it. That's
Well, okay. You probably have, as we speak, uh, I mean, how many art projects do you have like in front of you in like when you and I finish talking, like what's happening in your life right now?
well, I just ran here from a mural we're making right now that has there's like a Huey helicopter spilling raccoons. It's like 2 or 3 stories high and like 80 feet across. I'm working on that right now. In mid-March, we're going to be doing a residency in Vermont at the Brattleboro uh, Cultural Museum. There, 9 days in an administrative building, running a interactive uh, art installation called Tape Art Megacorp, where you come to the space and you're just given a job. And the job is art related. And so we're going to be consuming these spaces with all these different types of groups that are going to come in. So 9 days straight, I'll be playing the role of a manager at Tape Art Megacorp who just
What kind of tape do you use? What kind of tape do you like?
oh my gosh, I have to go.
Okay.
I have to go. Oh no, I apologize. We're using a super specialized tape. It's perfect for tape art, and they stopped making it 4 years ago.
Okay. So we
And
need to make more. Before I let you go, what is a
yes.
little known fact about Michael Townsend?
Oh, about me?
Yeah.
Uh, well, we just started using social media for the first time. So on Instagram, we're at tape art. We're sort of our hands were sort of forced into it. It's a little known fact is I just really hate social media, and I'm super introverted most of the time. But if you join us in social media, you'll be like, no, that's not true. You're really good at social.
So
We're,
you
we're
see?
we're really good at it. We're really good at it. We're really outgoing. We're really, but like, my gosh. But
Well, Michael, thank
but
you. Thank you for
yeah,
this conversation, and I can't wait to see what's next. Thank you for being on the
thank
show,
you
and see you
so much.
soon.
Yeah, I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you for
All
your
right.
time.
Thanks. All
Bye.
right. Bye.